Welcome to the MSU Deer Labs online seminar series brought to you by the Mississippi State University Extension Service and the Forest and Wildlife Research Center. My name is Bronson Strickland. I will be your presenter today, and I'm the St. John Family Professor of Wildlife Management and co-director of the MSU Deer Lab. Some of you seeing this slide may chuckle and think, well, we know that. And in fact, we do know this, but Steve and I have given this presentation and many presentations like this for, heck, a couple decades now. And you would be surprised, there's a lot of people that still don't understand this fundamental concept of the antler growth curve. So to put it simply, if your objective is big bucks are old bucks. And if what you are seeking is to maximize the number of larger antlered big bucks on your property, that simply means you have to manage for mature bucks. And when we look at this antler growth curve, the way to read this scale, this is percent of the maximum antler size. And this is an average over many years, many populations, captive, free-ranging, etc. But what we notice here is that maximum antler size is typically gained at 6.5 years of age. And I don't have it showing out to 7 and 8 and so forth, but that pretty much maintains itself. 6, 7, 8, sometimes 9, sometimes 10, believe it or not. That is where deer bucks have their maximum antler size. And it can vary from year to year. You know, there's always environmental events. You had a flood one year, you had a drought one year, you know, some change to the habitat. So with an individual buck, it may go up at 7.5, may go down at 8.5, you know, something like that. But on the average, this is the sweet spot. This is what you're looking for, 6.5 plus. Now, I realize that is a challenge, especially if you're on a smaller property. Getting bucks to 5 and 6 can be really, really difficult. And, you know, that is always going to be a management challenge. But what I wanted to stress here is I wanted to arm you with the knowledge that that is the maximum antler size. That is where you're going to see the greatest antler size, and that is what you always need to be striving for. When we look at 2-year-old bucks, again, this is an average. Some bucks are going to be different. Some individual bucks are going to be different, but they're at about 60% of their ultimate size at 2.5, about 80% of their ultimate size at 3.5, and usually around 90 at 4.5. At 5.5, we're looking at 95, 96, 97. They're almost there. Body growth in terms of their body size and body mass, that is where we're typically seeing the maximum body size as well. And then the remainder, 6, 7, 8, body size is kind of maintained, and antler size is typically at its maximum then. So the bottom line here for people that aren't familiar with this relationship, big bucks aren't just born big. They have to have several years to grow, to develop their body and develop their antlers. So that is always of critical importance when managing for big, large antlered bucks, is managing for old bucks. Okay, I'm going to give you an example of the effect of age on some bucks that most people would consider bucks possessing really large antlers. I'll use the term trophy. Some people don't like that word, but it's a word I think that resonates with most people that are deer management aficionados. And we look at these 3 different antler sizes here. This is Boone and Crockett score. And so over here on the left-hand side, I have here 3 different scores: 140 inches Boone and Crockett score, 150 inches Boone and Crockett score, 160 inches Boone and Crockett score. Most places would consider those really good bucks. And again, this would be the antler score at maturity, or in this case, I'm saying 5.5 years of age. Now, I want you to think, if a buck was harvested, let's say you harvested this buck, scored 140 inches, and you extracted the jawbone, worked with a biologist and determined his age was 5.5. What do you think his score was when he was 3.5 years of age? Think about that just for a minute. If he scored a 140 at 5.5, what did he score 2 years previous? If he followed the normal growth patterns, he would have scored around 111 inches. I'm going to guess that's not as big as you thought it would be. So this buck scored 111 inches at 3 years of age, grew into a really nice buck that scores 140 inches at 5.5. How about this 150 class deer? A little under 120 inches. So think about, there is a lot of 3.5-year-old bucks that get harvested that score in this range here. And then lastly, a really nice buck, a 160-inch buck, scored, in this case, 127, but certainly in the mid-120s. Mid-120s is a really good buck, and that is an outstanding score for a buck that scores 3.5 years of age. So I'm showing you here by working backwards is that if your goal is the left-hand side of the chart here, if your goal is here, 140 plus, 150 plus, 160 plus, you have got to be aware and protect bucks at 3.5 that score in the 100 and teens or in the 120s, as they are going to grow into the 140s, 150s, and 160s.